For you to.
I say for all you, because you reminded us. All right, let's get going. We have a bunch of stuff, yeah, a lot of stuff to do. Who got my email? Show hands. So that's the other thing, trying to get the students to like look at their state's email. That's a problem. Like, if I could snap you or whatever other social media thing I could do, get it right away and have you like have a conversation. But if I email you, so I did, I sent you an email because we never got to the end of the PowerPoint deck on Tuesday, right? And at the end of the PowerPoint deck was an assignment. And it's due tonight. So now you poor folks that are in the Thursday are just worried about it. And why don't you tell your email on Tuesday because it sent it right away. Oh, the poor folks on the very didn't see it. So I'm gonna send them an email and submit a test. I won't communicate. So now we know. If you saw it, then you know the situation. At the end of this slide deck is an assignment. So first of all, let's just review what we did last time on Tuesday. Anyone know what that is called? What kind of a drawing it is?
It's a,
I heard it. Orthographic projection. That's what that is. And what are the three views? Front, top, and right side. And that's the correct position of them. We don't just get to put them anywhere. We start with the front. Then we put the right side view to the right of it and the top view above. Does that make sense? That is an American National Standards Institute, an ANSI standard for years. Okay, that's the big thing again. That's the proper positioning. What are the dashed lines? What are they? Hidden what? They are hidden lines, but what are they representing?
Pictures.
I hear a bunch of that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Actually, it's an edge or a surface that you cannot see. Edge or surface that you can't see is represented with a hidden. Okay. So looks like there's some kind of a slot down at the bottom of the front that we can't see in the top view, and then that circle in the top view is a hole, right? But then it has a relief at the top of it. How do I know it's at the top of it? What view tells me where the relief is? No, the top view is just a couple of circles. The front view, I see the hole from up and get bigger. That's called the relief, or it's the spot for the bolt head to sit down inside. Does that make sense? Never does one view work. Well, very seldom does one view work. Usually it takes a couple of you to put this thing together in your head. Okay? All right. Orthographic projection. So the assignment is to do one of these, to sketch one of these orthographic projections of an object. Oh. It always works, you know, when you first start, and then it doesn't work at all. Come on, arrows. Oh, now they work. At the very end, right? I went through some hand sketching. This is the assignment. This was a practice piece we were going to do in class, so don't get confused with that. This is the assignment, and it is number 9. Why is number 1 and 8 circled? I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to confuse you. But you're doing number 9. Okay? So you're going to get your little piece of paper and you're going to think about, oh, what's the front view look like? We all need to know where the front view is because I want you all to have to stay in the front view so you can kind of compare it, right? It's that arrow thing. That's the front view. What? Good. Everyone good with that? The funky arrow thing? And number 9. That's this one. And this is the front view. Okay? It's got a little, like, I don't know, triangle thing in the kind of near the front of the front view. And then in the back, it's got that kind of lifted up here. All right? And your job is to sketch, on a piece of paper, front side view. There is gonna be some hidden geometry in the front. There's gonna be some hidden geometry in the top. What can we not see from the top view? The bottom slot that looks like a triangle. If it's not called out how deep the slot is, then it goes all the way through. And that's typical on all drills. If a hole is called out as a half-inch drill, then that goes all the way through, unless they say half-inch drill, quarter inch depth. Then you have a boat going in quarter inch depth, right? So on all these kind of times, if it doesn't say, then this function isn't going to be. Questions? I didn't intentionally not get to the assignment, but it was a good exercise in communication. Yeah.
So, I tried to do it and I didn't do it correctly, but I was really confused by the flow for the,
Okay.
elimination side. But is it, each cube is?
Yeah, so each one of these little grid things, right? Each little grid is 4 inches by 4 inches.
Yeah, so then, we measure the size or the length of it.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, so it's 40 inches. 5 times 4 is 20, not 40, sorry. 20 inches
Yeah.
along that one side. It just gives you a feel for this. You're still sketching it, and you're gonna make it fit on your piece of paper, but I also want you to think about scale. Like, hey, this thing's 40 inches, but it's not gonna fit on your even half a high level piece of paper. How many times do you have to reduce it to get it on your paper? That's the scale thing. That makes sense?
Yeah.
If you want, you still got time, you can have more than one upload if you wanna fix something, right? It's submitted. And you all should be sharing like amongst yourself and working together so you can try to figure out, hey, where'd your hit line come from and that kind of thing. These are little puzzles to figure out. So, any other questions? It is a submission area you can all see, so you could actually look at somebody else's, right? You might want to look at it carefully and say, oh, they didn't look at views in the right spot, or they're using the right spot, but they're misaligned, I think. But yeah, it's okay to go over and look. That's the point. It does say fully dimension, and I haven't covered any dimensioning really at all. So just do your best to put some dimensions down on there. We did talk about it a little bit in class, right? In that extension lines extend to the object. We want to keep our dimensions off of the object. We don't want to be redundant and dimension things 4 times. Just that basic information, give it a shot. Your goal with dimensioning is full shape description. So if you want to try to capture the whole shape, when you hand it to somebody else, they can actually make it. And also full position of everything. So there's a hole, you should have a position. All right, good. Give it a try. I bet they all look similar, right? They should, front, top, side. That should be the same with all of our stuff. So right there is a step in the right direction from what we did with the ping pong ball launcher. And when we get to our project and we do our graphics, right, on the portable human shelter, it should be similar. We should have that layout down. We should be able to read each other's drawings. All right, cool. I'm leaving that behind. And we are zooming to the next one. I know. Anyone hear about this? The Millennium Tower? Still happens. This stuff still happens. It's remarkable that these things still happen.
So wait, it's so big, it's like.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm about to take a while.
Anyone know what's happening? It's been a number of years now. Yeah, you would know what's going on with this tower.
It's so heavy that the ground that means it like it's trying to stay up.
Yeah, it's sinking and tilting. You could buy a condominium like on the 40th floor pretty cheap at this point. Like I said, this real estate is going cheap because this thing falling over slowly. Lots of big lawsuits. Unbelievable that this stuff still happens. It does though. So here's some cracking very visible on the ground. These are strain gauges that have been added in to understand the growth rate of the movement, and it's pretty substantial. If you take a baseball and put it down on the 40th floor, like over on the floor and just boom, take off forward. So clearly tilting. It's a big problem. Big problem. So here's what happened. It's in San Francisco. San Francisco is by the ocean. Yeah, so what's also by the ocean, like if you go to the beach and walk next to the ocean, what do you walk on? Sand. So it pretty much sand the entire region. So the way they build these towers is they effectively set down pilings, right? This says sits on a dozen of friction piles 60 to 90 feet down into muddy, sandy soils. It should be noted that the sandy soils are ideal for friction piles, so they use the right piles. The bedrock is at a depth of 200 feet, so they were just a little short of getting to bedrock. So they use sand friction piles, which is an improved building technique, and it has worked for decades on these large structures. But then there's a number of other things that went on. And of course, it's not been settled because everyone's doing this, right? The builder's saying, we built it according to the engineers. The engineers are saying, that's all fine, but then the structure next to us started to build and they dug a giant hole, because the way you build these towers is you do dig a giant hole that the concrete foundation then goes in, right? So when they dug that giant hole, it changed the consistency of the sand and water mixture. So they're blaming the construction company next door for digging the big hole, right? And so everyone's just like pointing at each other. And of course, the people who bought the damn condos are like, figure it out, people, because this is scary. Yeah, and that's exactly how it works. Everyone starts pointing at each other and getting their lawyers involved, and nothing's been settled yet. Huh? They all want to blame. The engineers know who to blame, and it's the neighbors, right? And the construction company knows who to blame, and that's the engineers. So they all know who to blame. It's just still going. They need a judge in a courtroom to figure out who's at fault here. But if you're interested in it, you could go onto this slide deck and click on this, and this is a little news link on it, and the possible solutions, which I don't remember. The cost of the thing was under $1 billion, but it was obviously multiple billions. $600 million structure, and the cost of the fix is like another. And it's an next level fix of putting pilings around the structure, 200 feet to bedrock, and then attaching to the structure. Right? So they can sink these piles down and then kind of put into the structure a new times. Just like Terra Firma or Ranch, which is our local companies, local Oregon companies, that will come to your home if your home has a sinking foundation, which unfortunately, we do have a lot of homes that are built for substantial code, older homes, and their foundations are cracked and sinking, right? So if that's happening, you can call Ranjack, my favorite, it's such a great name. You can call Ranjack, but you can't Marmaduke, who's not an engineer, but he came up with the concept of helical piles. There were helical piles out there already, but he came up with helical piles for homes. So they'll come to your home, let's say the back is sinking in the ground, it's down a couple inches, super common when you look at homes that don't do this. And he'll take his helical pile, come right next to your house with a little machine, they'll drive the helical pile, and it literally looks just like a big helical drill bit. But they're gonna screw into the ground, they're pretty big, which is, I mean, they can be used, these are 18 inches, which have a lot of surface area, right? And they just yard that in the ground, right in the ground, takes them 10 minutes to drive for them. They have a threaded shaft, and then on the threaded shaft is the foundation wrapper, and it literally just spins down right next to your foundation, and it's just a, just think of a little can or a flat solid piece of metal, and then slip it under your foundation. And then they can unscrew that cubicle pile part that has that on it, and then they get the room. And then they walk away. All that sits. That is your new foundation. And the home doesn't move. It's pretty good there. And I'll put in, 4 or 5, however many you push it. So they can come in, jack your home back up to level in about a day and a half. And then walk away. And that becomes an approved foundation for that structure. Super cool. Yeah, no, it's super cool. It's super expensive. Like, yeah, I think 4 helical piles that probably be 30, 40 grand. Like 10 grand per pile. But he's doing pretty well. But if you have a $500,000 home that you can't sell because it's not sinking in the ground, that's another 40 grand to get it up and stable and maybe it's up. Right. So people are doing this crazy thing. The plan is that's the fix, the approved fix for this structure is the same kind of thing. Much bigger piles going down to bedrock, but then they're going to grab the foundation and just lift and hold it in a new spot. It's crazy. All right. So check it out if you want to look at it more. We need to cover ethics because you have, Marco, did you have a question?
How big is like
The ones they're going to use on the Millennium Tower, I think they were 3-foot diameter, but they're going to carry it all the way around. Like just Portland building, don't bring any stuff on that. That's also ones. We have a lot of sand in this area. You build anywhere near the Columbia River, it's all sand. I have my cabin up on Mount Hood, and then 2 up there now in Iris. That's all. And sand typically is a really good, sand compacts to 80%. So if you put sand in a hole, that'll compact to 80%, like in a couple of days. Super great compaction. The problem is when you mix the water. So when you stand deep in the skirt, the water comes in and goes out, what happens to you? Like immediately, right? It's goes into the water. It becomes mush and then unsupported, and then you sink. So yeah, that's the problem with sand, is if it gets over moistured, which is what they were claiming happened when they dug the hole next door. Part of the way that you extract the sand as you're digging it is you can suck it out with a water slurry. So they add water, turns it all slurry-like, and they can suck it out. And they claimed, the Millennium Tower folks claimed they did that next door, which changed the consistency, which it was leaning that way. So maybe that's why they said, oh, we'll blame it on them. They did it. Anyway, it's a great entering conversation into ethics. So let's talk about that. You have a code of ethics to write. One day, I think. Is that right? Yeah. So let's go through it. Everyone knows what ethics are. Maybe you don't know like the definition of each one, but essentially we use our ethics to make decisions. We don't all make decisions the same way, right? If I am Jorge, you'll love this one. If I am and I'll screw it up so you can help me, okay? If I'm a private in the Army, we'll pick on the Army, and somebody gives me an order, who would give me an order if I'm a private? Sergeant? Is a sergeant above a private? Let's go, who's the top one? Like a general. A general could give a private an order, right? Yeah, and they probably have to do it. Yeah, so how is the private making their decision on whether to do it or not? Right, I mean, in the military, you're asked to do some crazy stuff, and the military folks do it. What is controlling their ethics?
Revelation.
Hmm?
Our revelations, internal revelations. which are ethics and laws.
But if you disagreed with it, you would still do it if you're in the military. If you were.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Don't give me that.
There are rules that apply to it, if it is,
Okay, I didn't hear that, but history would not prove that,
yes,
right?
but if it is on.
I think if you're in the military.
Legal contract service, that's how.
Yeah, legal contracts, it's called duty. In the military, it's your duty. If they say go stand post for 18 hours, it's my duty to do that. That's one of the ethical models, is it's your duty to do it. You have to do it. Like, you don't get to really choose. We don't want military folks to say, I don't want to do that. You know, I want you 40,000 to go take that hill. They're like, nah. That's not gonna work. Right. It's this duty. So that's one of them. So we make decisions based on our own ethical models, whatever they are. And normally it's a collection of models. What are other ways you can make a decision that you know? What guides you to make a decision? What's some really popular? Logic, that's probably there, but not everyone's. My wife's there. Make a decision based on logic, I swear. This would be a recorded call. No, they're public too, but emotions. Emotions, we make a lot of decisions based on emotion.
Common sense.
That's not one of the ethical.
Personal beliefs, I guess.
They're getting close, personal beliefs. Somebody wants to like elaborate on that, that'd be great.
Moral.
Morals, really broad. They're gonna break it down into smaller pieces than your morals, but morals one of them for sure. Money. Money, you can make decisions based on money, that's not one of them. Peer pressure. Peer pressure is not one of the ethical models. Advice. That's closer to logic. So it's a good one, right? But you hit a bunch of the ways that we make it. All right, let's see this is what the psychologists would say. Like somebody not even like, I can't even pronounce them, but that's all right. It's good. It's good to look at them. All right. So this is why we study ethics, and this is why ethics is a part of engineering, because we spend a whole bunch of money making sure that people are ethical. Right? We have an entire organization in every state. In our state, it's called OSHA. Anyone know what OSHA stands for? Oregon Safety Health Organization, right? They're the ones that come onto the job or into the work and say, hey, you people are being safe. You think we would be able to determine if we're being safe or not, but honestly, we're not that ethical. So somebody thought we needed an organization to make sure that you are ethical, right? So I have a number of ethics that guide me as an instructor. I'm not supposed to allow you to bribe me, right? So you can't give me $5 and I give you an A. It's going to cost more than that, number one. But I can't do that, right? I can't even work for you or have you work for me. There's a bunch of ethical situations there that we can't go to. But this is why it's important, because we spend billions of dollars trying to keep things ethical. All right, so this is it. Here's the 4 ethical models, and you'll see that it says ethical and moral theories. So this is getting into the psychology. If you become a psychologist, then you can study things, and one of the things you can study is this thing called ethics. It's super interesting. So this first one, I think somebody might have said good or something. We were just having a conversation. But the first one is the balance between good and bad. And it has to do with consequences, which is, this comes into engineering quite a bit, ethically. If you start to think about what are the consequences of something failing, that can change our complete model of how we design, right? So if I'm a table designer, here's my table and I'm designing these. if a 4-year-old gets up here, you know, and crawls around on it and tips over, that 4-year-old could get hurt. I need to think about the consequences of what could happen with my kid. Yeah, probably not a lot. If somebody actually died, I guess, you know, that's always possible. But not typical. My table is probably not going to be terribly bad. If it was going to be something. If I break, it might break a injury, right? But it's not on the level of something like an automobile, you know, bridge or a sky. That's on a whole different level. But one of the ways we make decisions is this cost-benefit analysis, the balance between good and bad. Then duty, which we talked about, it's your duty to do it. So regardless of whether these acts lead to the most good, it's still your duty to do it. Rights ethics, this emphasizes that we all have moral rights. So first you'd have to believe that we all have moral rights. And if that's true, any action that violates these rights is ethically unacceptable. That would like take a lot of things out right there. We just use that. Right? Ultimate overall good of the action is not taken into account with the right. That's the right. Virtue ethics. So this focuses on the type of person we should strive to be. But of course, we have to all agree on what type of person that is, which is difficult. Regards actions and right that manifest good character traits, regards actions as bad that display bad character traits. Again, you have to define character traits and what's a good character trait and what's a bad trait. All right. Interesting. So then this kind of goes into more detail of each one. I don't think that's necessary. I think it's interesting to note that there are these like 4 different ethical models that supposedly most all decisions like can be put into these categories. So I'm not going to go through each one. Which ethical theory should we use? You don't have to choose. All the theories. Use all the theories to analyze a problem from different angles, allow for different perspectives. Often decisions are made off of all the models or many parts of the models. All right. Professional codes of conduct. There's one for most professional organizations. Do you think doctors have them? Absolutely. They have a huge list of code of conducts. The first is they're supposed to do no harm. Right? So that's where the whole, you know, end of life thing conversation we had in this state many years ago about the end of life and whether a physician can assist in the end of life or not. And most physicians objected to that because one of their primary ethical codes is they can do no harm to a patient, and clearly ending their life is doing some harm. So they have a giant ethical code of conduct. What about lawyers? Yeah, they actually have one, right? You can look it up. It's hard to believe, I know, but I think some follow it well. And engineers do. So American Society of Mechanical Engineers, you can look up their code of conduct and their canons. IEEE, electrical engineers, they have a code of conduct. Civil engineering, SME, American Society of Manufacturing Engineers, they have their own code of conduct. They all look pretty simple. I mean, they're all similar. And really, if we go back to my slide from like week 1 about how you're supposed to act in kindergarten and be nice to each other, that really is the base of most of the ethical code. There are some interesting ones. I like number 3 personally. Be honest and realistic in stating claims or estimates based on available data. So, like, honesty in data is important. Reject bribery. Improve the understanding. This is a good one. Number 5. Improve the understanding of technology, its appropriate application, and potential consequences. So when you create your code of ethics in your team, feel free to just flat out steal them from anywhere else that you want. Try to name yours, like put them into your own words. Just don't copy and paste them. There's another one that I really like that is also in the ASME one. Treat fairly all persons, avoid injuring others. Oh, that's the last one, 10, which I think folks forget about. Just because we're so competitive. This is colleagues and coworkers in their professional development and support them in following this code of ethics. So one of the canons code of ethics is to follow the code of ethics. And to help you, people around you also. Honest criticism, undertake technological tasks for others. So instead of complaining that somebody else doesn't know the software, step up and do the software for them or begin to teach them. You know, that's part of the code of ethics. All right. Good enough. It's in the slide deck. If you got a few notes on that, it'll be in your notebook and I'll see it and go, yep, they were here. Good notebook check. Oh, notebook check today for Thursday labs. So Tuesday labs went pretty good. The Tuesday labs went pretty darn good. I am only checking to see that it's organized and that there's notes in each week. Right? The next notebook check, then I'll get a little deeper. I'll actually zoom in on a day, see that you have the notes for that day. Right? So each one gets a little deeper and a little deeper. And then, and they also get more point values. So if you do bomb a notebook check, the next one's worth more points. So I think this one's worth 20, next one's worth 30, the next one's worth 40. It just keeps growing. So get it right. All right, let's go through an ethical. I don't know if we have fully enough time, but I think you'll get the point. I'm going to have you do some reading. So you don't have to read out loud. That's the good news. And I'm not going to read to you. But here's an ethical situation that I want you to think through. So I'll give you about a minute to read. And I have to read it too, just to get my characters correct. I think I know Duncan and I know Paul. So. So Paul's the employee at Bluestone, right? And what's Duncan? He's a vendor. Everyone know what a vendor is? They come and sell you stuff. Yeah. Like I had a lot of vendors coming to sell me stuff. Even I had people wanting to tell me I had no phones because they knew if they could sell me one, they could sell me 10,000 because people were too damn cheap, right? A lot of vendors came to us like buy our nuts and bolts, buy our welders, buy our, you know, buy our stuff. Here's the laser tape. Buy our stuff. Anyway, what do you think?
I think the basis of this is basically is being friends worth more than being.
All right, I just want to know, should Paul accept the invitation?
There is no conflict.
Christine, what do you think? Plus, you're in an ethics conversation in college, right? Yeah. What do you think?
No, because there is no conflict of interest between that item being sold,
Right.
and the company itself.
Okay. Anybody okay with this? Yeah, why?
Private clubs aren't even supposed in the first place. You should give that a go.
He really wants to go. It's not like you're gonna buy his stuff. You just want to go over, right?
You're talking donuts.
What could go wrong? At this level, so I never went to a private golf course with a vendor, but I did become really good friends with him. That I went sailing with, although he was coming on my boat. But at some point, then I went on his boat, we were fishing together, we used to ski together. We became fast friends. Like, so I'm thinking, if you would have said you want to go to like private country club and golf, I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's go.
Also, another thing about the hemp, if it looks like a bribe, it might not. Because
No,
it could be just in,
Yep.
want to be friendly.
All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Oh, Paul accepts the invitation. Of course he does. It'd be a bad story if he didn't, right? All right, read it. Yeah. Any golfers in here? Any religious golfers? You might be a religious. Meaning that you're treating it as a religion that serious. Maybe. No, not yet. No. Have you taken a lesson?
Got a few golf lessons that never really treated it like it's my life, I guess, I don't know.
Okay. Good, that's healthy. Don't go with the whole separate thing, because I went there for about 8 years. Yeah, can you see where this is going? Yeah, so that, I mean, that's a tough situation that I would not have forecasted, although I am actually better in golf. Because the game's different when you put money. Because it's a different game. I don't do it anymore, but that's why the pro golfers are playing golf. Is for money, not, and they're not having for a good time. Anyway, yeah, so this is maybe some unforeseen things. So that's probably the biggest thing I want you to walk away with, like, hey, you know, maybe this would have been okay, but just, you have no idea the number of directions something can go. If you have an instinct or a gut feeling that said, you shouldn't do that, you know, I don't want to go to I had really nice laser tickets offered to me. And it took all of me to say that. A lot of big basketball players. I was saying, what is it? But these are like blocks, speeds with like pizza delivered and shit. You know, things like, oh, so that's fun. There you go. That was super. You'll get these offers. And this is a very legit thing to think about. All right, so what happens is it just goes downhill. And in the end, he has to make a decision about buying or not buying Duncan's product. And he has to take it to a committee, and the committee says, you know, that's not that price is not, it's not good. We're not doing it. You can't do it. So then, of course, he had to tell Duncan that, and then Duncan flat out says, I did all this for you, so this would happen, and it didn't happen. So you just don't know the motivation of people, I guess. I didn't do much with the vendor that I was close with until we got close and realized, hey, we could be fast friends and have some fun. And then I never bought his product, but I made that clear right away. Okay, I just can't do it. Like, sorry, you got to go somewhere else and vendor your stuff. But he was fine with it. So it's, you know, it comes down to all about people. Anyway, that's it. It's just not work. Yeah, it's not let it happen at work. Like my big problem was the purchasing agent sat in the office next to the engineering office. Like we were just across the hall. So every vendor would come in, talk to the purchasing agent, and it just kind of mill around. What do you got? $32? Oh, I'm hungry. Hang. So just keep track of it. All right, we're gonna see you in lab if you have lab. Get your code of ethics done now, and then use your documents to create. I think everybody has to sign it, so look at that sign. So when you create your code of ethics, everyone on your team has to sign it. The real signature. It's gotta go, you know, it's like, it's gotta get uploaded. Yeah. Everybody uploads code of ethics. Everybody, not just the team. That was just one question committee.
You are not disobeying order in the military. You are not disobeying order in the military, even though.
Yeah, it's not just like this. Good job. Yeah. Well. He was the Tuesday. I wanted to be at the beach. Wednesdays. Friday. You wanna leave it with me? Today. A little bit. But next time, I'm gonna get totally hammered. But leave it with me, pick it up later. You can come, are you on campus for a while?
No.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to, you can get it next week, whenever you want. It'll be in 1650.
Oh.
My brief story was not disobeying, not disobeying. Contradicting with orders. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Only if you're on.
That is,
They're all, we're replacing on that spot.
okay.
Yeah, you can find it, you guys.
You can find it, yes, you can find it.
So like, so, yeah, like,
One day, we were working in this, Bell helicopter tool.
Wait. If a natural. They're gonna, you know, we're gonna.
yeah. It depends on like the situation and circumstance.
Yes, that depends on everything, safety violation, you can have. I have,
Right.
several times that, talking about me, telling me something, like. My boss, the one that I talked about.
Unsafe, personally, or unsafe to.
For me, you never work.
So, like all of the stuff we did in the past, so.
You shot at or something, that's not safe.
So we had our basically code of everything that was allowed or not allowed, and I had, like, it was our TOs, right? So everything I ever need to do in my job was in there.
Yeah.
So if someone told me to do something, and I could pull it off in like a warning or a note or something in my, I would be like, no, I can't do that. Then, but you get,
There's something in like orders that, sometimes contracts will be original orders. And in order to complete the mission, you have to complete those implied orders. But if they contract with the order itself, and you say, you know what, this is my point. I can't accomplish the mission in this form.
Right.
Can I do it